Staying in contact. I'm London Mitchell. This week, our program is a bit different as I invite you to sit in on a news conference hosted by Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. We are going to touch on what I consider to be a very important topic, school bus safety. This week, the governor held a news conference to discuss recommendations made by the Ohio School Bus Safety Working Group. I have outtakes to share from that news conference. Perhaps the most important outcome is the conclusion that school buses are the safest mode of transportation for students traveling to and from school. But there are steps we can take to make them even safer. Governor DeWine.
As you know, in August, we had a terrible tragedy in Clark County. A student was killed during a school bus accident, wreck. We know that buses are the safest way to transport children to school. That remains true. But when we have a tragedy like this, I think it's important for us to re-examine what we can do to make our trips that our kids are taking and grandkids are taking as safe as we can. It's something I think that is a concern to all Ohioans. Most mornings when I'm back in Cedarville, I walk early in the morning and walk by where some of our grandchildren get on a school bus every morning, 7:03, and just watch that take place. And that happens tens of thousands of times every single day when buses are stopping to pick up students across the state of Ohio. After that tragedy, we created the Ohio School Bus Safety Working Group in August. We pulled together experts from many disciplines, school boards, administrators, bus drivers, law enforcement, parents, insurance experts, many others, to conduct a holistic review of all aspects of school bus safety. The group looked at bus driver training and wellness. They looked at school bus maintenance and inspections. They looked at crash data. They looked at safety equipment, and many, many other things. The group's chair, Director Wilson, will walk you through several of the very specific recommendations that have been made, and he'll do that just in a moment. But the overall takeaway of the working group is in line with what studies have consistently shown. School buses are the safest method of transportation for school students. There's nothing even close. But as this report shows, there are things that we can do. And I would say because we can do them and we know what will make a difference, we need to do them.
We are listening to outtakes from Governor Mike DeWine's news conference this past week on school bus safety. The School Bus Safety Working Group made 17 recommendations. To discuss those recommendations at the news conference was the director of the Ohio Department of Public Safety, Andy Wilson.
Now, as I go through this report, I'm not going to stand up here and I'm not going to read every recommendation that's contained in this report, but I do want to highlight a couple of areas that we discussed. And I want to open the discussion of specific recommendations by talking about the issue of mandating that school districts put seatbelts on all of their buses. Seatbelts were at the center of many discussions of this working group. Members presented tough questions to subject matter experts about the effectiveness of seatbelts on school buses, the added cost of seatbelts on school buses, and whether or not seatbelts on school buses have impact on student behavior. I want to be clear. Seatbelts absolutely have life-saving value when it comes to traffic safety. The Department of Public Safety tells all drivers of their vehicles to buckle up. We're consistent in that message. I tell my kids every time they get in the car, to buckle up. If I'm being completely honest, when I started working with this group, I tried to come in with an open mind with respect to all of the issues we were going to tackle. But when we started the work, I had a preconceived notion, and I know in talking to other members of the working group, they had a preconceived notion that there was a good chance we were going to come out the backside with a recommendation mandating putting seatbelts on all school buses. As a parent, as a member of the community, it just seemed kind of makes sense. As somebody who tells their kid, buckle up every time they get in the car, kind of makes sense. However, as a group, after hearing from the experts, hearing from our bus drivers, looking at the data or the lack of data from states that have mandated seatbelts, and listening to school districts who have tried pilot programs on their buses, we became convinced that a statewide mandate of seatbelts on buses is not the most effective use of government resources to keep our kids safe. Together, the working group decided that the decision to install seatbelts on buses should remain with local school districts who are best situated to understand their unique needs with respect to the safety of their students. Right now, seatbelts are optional on large school buses weighing over 10,000 pounds here in Ohio. Many school districts in Ohio are taking advantage of that option. As a matter of fact, over 60% of Ohio school districts have purchased at least one large school bus that has seatbelts. Instead of expending all of our resources on a single rigid safety option, we want to allow districts to have the flexibility to focus on safety features and new technology for school buses that can prevent crashes from happening at all. Features like added lighting and reflective markings that can make buses more visible to drivers behind the bus and potentially more visible to distracted drivers. As you can see, we have a list of some of these types of features. We know that the best way to protect our kids from being harmed in a crash is to prevent that crash from ever happening. We also know that these safety features can be costly for school districts, which is why we are recommending a state-funded grant program to offset those expenses and allow districts to decide which safety features, including seatbelts, that will meet their unique and specific safety needs. In addition to the seatbelt issue, another topic that we spent a lot of time on as a group was school bus driver training. We learned from Ms. Russell's survey that an overwhelming majority of school bus drivers are interested in taking more advanced training to help sharpen their defensive driving skills and improve their ability to maintain control of their bus, especially in emergency situations. There is absolutely no substitute for challenging, realistic, hands-on training for Ohio's bus drivers. While Ohio does offer some advanced training for school bus drivers, it's geographically limited. It's only offered a couple times a year. Today, we are also recommending a separate state-funded school bus driver training program to ensure that all bus drivers can benefit from enhanced safety that advanced driving training offers. The Department of Education and Workforce will work to expand the capacity of this advanced drivers training with the ultimate goal of Ohio school bus drivers, all Ohio school bus drivers, being able to attend advanced drivers training on a periodic basis. Furthermore, instead of requiring 9 hours of recertification training every 6 years, which is the current system, the working group recommends that those hours be spread out across the 6-year period by increasing the current annual training requirement for drivers from 4 hours per year to 6 hours per year. We also recommend that the Department of Education and Workforce develop a curriculum for districts to use for this annual training requirement. Anyone who reads this report will notice a theme that most of these 17 recommendations have in common. That theme is that partnerships and collaboration are the key to improving safety for everyone. State agencies must work with local school districts. Local law enforcement agencies must work with each other and work with the State Highway Patrol. And the Department of Public Safety and the Department of Education and Workforce must work with the General Assembly to advance school bus safety priorities. Through collaboration, we can leverage our diverse expertise, our resources, and our perspective to mitigate risks and prevent another tragedy involving a school bus. Over and over again, many of the working group discussions kept coming back to the fact that safety is everybody's responsibility. Everyone from school employees to state employees to parents to students to members of the public. We all have a responsibility to ensure that school bus travel is as safe as possible. Traffic crashes involving school buses are rare, and most of the time they are not caused by the school bus driver. The school bus driver is not at fault. It's other people who are operating their vehicles recklessly or who aren't paying attention that are causing these crashes. We must all be vigilant when it comes to how we drive around school buses and in school zones. Our mission to improve school safety, or school bus safety, it doesn't end today. There'll be more work to do in this space and in the weeks and the months to come. Ohio school-aged children are counting on us. Every parent in this room, every parent listening who puts their child on a bus is counting on us to get this right. We look forward to working with partners across the state to initiate positive changes to enhance the safety of school bus travel across Ohio. Thank you.
Andy Wilson, Director of the Ohio Department of Public Safety, who chaired the special work group on school bus safety. I'm London Mitchell, staying in contact. This week we have outtakes from the recent news conference with Governor Mike DeWine on the recommendations made by the special work group. Back to Governor DeWine.
Some of these recommendations will be up to the individual school districts to consider. Some will require action by the Ohio General Assembly. Others can be implemented at my direction. So let me talk about that. I'm announcing today that I have asked the state agencies with action items in this report to do everything they can to move forward as quickly as possible to see that these are enacted. For example, the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce will begin developing a standardized curriculum for 6 hours of annual school bus driver training. Every school bus driver in Ohio bears the same responsibilities, so it makes sense that they should also all have the same quality training. Next, the Department of Education will also begin developing wellness programming specific to bus drivers.
Governor Mike DeWine at his news conference this week regarding school bus safety. For more information on the work group and a complete list of the 17 recommendations, please go to my website, londonmitchell.news. That's our program for this week. Please join us again next week as we continue staying in contact.